All right, and we're back with episode 2 of Bird Talk. We got a lot lined up for you today. It's going to be a big second episode. And before we get into that, we wanted to say thank you. The support on the last and first episode of Bird Talk was incredible. And not only on Bird Talk, but with the rest of the stuff we do, we've received an incredible amount of support. So we wanted to say thank you. And we got a lot to look forward to in this episode. Brennan Remy had an outstanding game against the St. X Bombers. He's going to join us later today. He's going to talk about his huge game. He went down a couple times. He kept coming out. He was a big part of that final drive. We got the superintendent of Lakota Local Schools since 2017, Matt Miller. He's going to come on and talk about the East-West rivalry, what it means not just to the schools but to the district as a whole. We got a lot going on, and we hope you stick with us throughout it. So let's get into the podcast. All right, so Lakota West kicking off their season, and they go off to a 1-0 start after taking down the Bombers at home. It was a very thrilling finish, 16-13 our final, and I don't think you could have asked for any better of a Week 1 game. So, I mean, let's pass it off to the analyst, Grant. What did you see in that game? I mean, obviously it came down to the end. What were you seeing there, especially late in the game?
What I want to say is I think this game was based off of which team learned fastest. This team was really about which team was able to adapt and which team was able to be better at that. And St. X, in that first half, they came out roaring and West was not able to stop them. But St. X stuck with the same game plan and tried playing it safe, and that ultimately bit them. Meanwhile, we saw West, who really found some confidence in their core, especially like in their quarterback Mitch Bolden, who early on had some struggles with dealing with pressure and pass decisions after that, really came into being a phenomenal passer under pressure late into the second half. And so this game was really about who was able to learn faster, and Lakota West was the team that was able to do that.
Yeah, it really seemed like there in the first half, Mitch had that interception. He was struggling. And then for whatever reason, I mean, you could probably chalk it up to Coach Bolden in the locker room. I mean, we've heard stories about the halftime, and I wish I was there like a fly on the wall. But, I mean, especially in that, fourth quarter time frame, it seems like things just really started to click.
So, yeah, in that fourth quarter, what we really saw is West cleaned up their play. And the first half and at the start of the third quarter, there was just a lot of dropped receptions and a lot of sloppy play, including a lot of penalties there on West side. They have over 100 yards of penalty in their first outing this year. And so really, what really got us clicking is when our team learned to do the basic things, they could really excel in what was special and what makes this team Lakota West football.
One of the things that I kind of had a little bit of concern about heading into Week 1 is maybe a little bit of a chemistry concern. I mean, for the most part, the team was together, but the role I was more concerned about is kind of losing specifically Jair, right? That electric playmaker type. I was looking specific. I mentioned this in the first episode too. Malik, I thought that was kind of where he would step up, and to an extent he did. But do you think chemistry might have been a part of that, specifically on defense in the first half of that struggle?
I don't really see chemistry as much as a problem for this West team, because this West team has really been on a 4-year track with Mitch Bolden and all the other players. This has really been a team building up to this year. Sure, we lost a couple superstars. That happens in high school football just with people graduating, but this team was built for this year. I feel like next year will be a hard rebuilding year for West with finding all those new positional players like QB, but this year, this is what we've been building towards. The chemistry is there, the groundwork's there, the leaders are there, and Michael Brandcamp, Malik Hartford, of course, you've got Mitch Bolden, so many different leaders. There's really I see chemistry as something that is not what needs to be worked on, but is something that could be one of our strongest points.
So taking a look at next year, as most of our core, if not all of our core players are seniors that will be graduating and will not be here for the football team next year, what do you guys think is the main problem and main thing that Lakota West needs to fix for next year?
I mean, currently they should not be looking at next year, because right now we've got an amazing team who we can build around now. Well, who we have built around now, and who is ready to win right now. I mean, West, behind Coach Bolden, I'm sure they won't even have a losing season. He's a great coach, and he'll lead them back, but I mean, you've got to start. The first thing that needs to be addressed is they'll find their next quarterback, and they'll build around that. But they're not going to have any focus on that right now, because all they see right now is they see right in front of their headlights is they see the state championship.
Yeah, I think you look at higher levels of football, NFL, NCAA, like all those, it revolves around star players. And in high school, I mean, to an extent, yeah, your Malik Hartfords, obviously, the Ben Minnicks, like the guys that West have now, yeah, they make an impact. I mean, why wouldn't they? but I think in terms of programs as a whole, a good coach is all you can ask for. Like, that's the big thing, because what Tom Bolden has done here in his time as head coach, when he came from at Coleraine, that was a regime of its own, right? He comes to West. Frankly, I don't know why. Maybe changes scenery, but I mean, he comes here, and what does he do? He turns it into the next Coleraine. Like, it seems like wherever he goes, success follows, which is why a head coach, to me, is more important than any position you can find out on the field.
Now, to finish up our segment on this St. X review, we've got star of the game, Brennan Remy, who battled through multiple injuries.
All right, so now one of our visitors on the podcast, one of our two on this special episode, we got sort of the MVP of the St. X game, 16-13. Your Firebirds taking that one. Had an absolute breakout game, and he did it through a little bit of rough stuff, a little couple injuries in that game. Got a little roughed up there. 6 receptions, 103 yards, and it had the longest, which was 47 yards, and a touchdown. That was the 9th point of the game that brought West back within that final score. It's Brennan Remy joining us on the podcast now. Brennan, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm great, and I'm assuming you're probably even better after that last performance.
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta lead off with it. I mean, you went down, 2-3 times in that game and kept coming back.
Yeah, I was battling through, injuries the whole week, but actually, none of those, got me down. I was cramping bad in my calf, so for sure going to change what I did last week, drink more water, and some Pedialyte packets. So, yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen to, me, Josh, and G. A lot of our team had it, so.
So, I mean, when you headed into that second to last drive, or third to last drive, when you had that 47-yard touchdown, I mean, what was going through your mind when you lined up after all of that stuff?
I was just we need to do what we need to do to win, and, they were, trash talking me, the whole game, so, trying to get under my skin, but it just motivated me and made me keep pushing harder and just go ball, basically.
So it seemed like in the first half the offense was kind of struggling to click, I mean, kind of all around, and St. X was able to shut us out in the first half, but it seemed like something when you came out of that locker room in the second half kind of clicked all around. What can you say about kind of what happened in that locker room, what changed on the field headed into halftime?
Yeah, Coach B, he was a little fired up, and he wasn't too happy because we played horrible, but I really think Coach B, firing us up really helped us to go out there and play a lot better, and we kind of got humbled, I feel like, the first half, but we came out ready to fight, and we needed to step up, and I think every single one of our players stepped up during the second half, and it just shows how good of a team we are to just trust each other through the process.
All right, so Coach B used you a lot versatilely throughout the game, over in the passing game, and he even used you once in the rushing. Do you hope to get more rushing attempts throughout the year, or do you want to stay more of a passing target?
I just want to do whatever can help us win, but I love getting the ball, and lots of positive things happen, I feel like, and whatever helps us win is what I want to do. So both, yeah.
So just whether or not you have the ball, you want to be able to help the team win no matter what?
Yeah, no matter what.
All right, now I got it. So after you scored that 47-yarder and it was 13-9, obviously, I mean, St. X got the ball. There was a 3-and-out there. You guys got the ball back. There was 3-and-out there. But then finally on that last drive with only a few minutes left in the game, I mean, it was still a high-pressure situation, but it felt like all the momentum was on your side really the entire time. Was there ever a doubt in your mind, or were you kind of certain okay, we're going to win this football game?
Yeah, I was always pretty certain that we were going to win because, like I said, I feel like everybody's head is on the same page, going to the O-line, to Mitch, to me, to G, to Ben, to Malik, to Josh, to Scotty, all the receivers. We just all are a really good group, and we all trust each other. And we trusted Mitch to do what he did, and Mitch had an amazing last drive, amazing game. And so, I mean, he liked the plays he made. He was running out the pocket and everything. That was crazy. And I think we all knew we were gonna come on top.
You guys knew from the beginning of the game, from before the game, that you were gonna win this game because you trust each other as a group, right? That's basically what you're saying. How does that trust develop through every single practice, every day, and through every single week?
I think just because we rep a lot of team with our offense, so you know how the defensive guys, like, they play, like, some play both, and we rep our offense, then we rep our defensive guys. So I think we build chemistry through our practices, because I think we for sure practice really hard. We've been practicing really hard all summer, and even all winter we've been practicing hard. So I just think us practicing just really helps our chemistry.
One of the biggest parts of your game was physicality and being able to hold on to the ball even when you have 2 or 3 defenders running into you while catching it. How do you work on that, and how do you make sure you come down with the ball even in the most intense moments of the game?
Just like living in the moment. I feel like I've been like practicing this for basically my whole life, like for that last drive, for the fourth quarter, just like digging deep and finding like somewhere like I didn't think I could find and just pulling that out and just like keep going. And just basically in the weight room too, like our Isaac, he trains us really hard, and we're lifting 3 days a week in the season. So I think that's really important about our strength, and and also just good coaching with Coach Nickel, good receiving coaches. Like, we work on basically high balling the ball and catching up top and just bringing it down, making a play.
In terms of the rivalry game, I spoke with Coach Bolden about this on the sideline before the game. St. X obviously kind of been the new developing rivalry here at Lakota West. It seemed like St. X kind of had the Firebirds number before, especially in the playoffs a few years ago.
Yeah.
And heading into week 1 last year, St. X took that one in a pretty big fashion. But I mean, after the playoffs last year, it seems like all's been kind of trending up for the Firebirds. So what was kind of the mentality heading into this week, being a big rivalry? Was it worried about, St. X in the past, or was it we're going to be on top in this game, we're the favorites?
We're not going to take any teams lightly last year because what happened last year against Moeller. So I think we were just super focused on the new St. X because everybody was doubting them, and we knew they're still going to be because they're a good team. They got some good kids, they're well coached, and we just knew this wasn't a game to be taken lightly, and so we came out and just played our hardest.
You got the air here. You have anything you want to say?
Go beat East now. It's just 1 week at a time. Just keep winning, and eventually we want to win the GMC, go back to back, I think, and then go win state. And I think we have the players and the coaches to win it. So just see how it plays out.
So taking a look at the East game this week, a lot of people thinking it might just be another blowout or that it could be a big rivalry. What are you guys thinking? What are your thoughts looking forward to this game? What do you see?
So with me, I think we saw this a lot last year with West's team, and it's not just Lakota West, it's not just high school. I mean, you look at any level of football. I think the team that is overwhelmingly that favorite, they don't play like it in at minimum the first quarter, maybe even into the second half, purely because that other team comes in this is our week. We play that team. They are those guys. You come in with that different energy, and you look back at the East game last year. That's exactly what happened. For the first half, West went into the locker room with a lead, yes, but was it by much? No. That game finished a blowout. If you would have called it at halftime, West would have won by a matter of a touchdown.
And that's how most games for West were last year, minus those playoff games that we saw.
Exactly. So to say this game would be a blowout, maybe. I think, will West win big? Yes. We posted a poll on our Twitter the other day. I was in that category of I think West is going to win by 20 plus. I firmly believe 20 plus. I think we'll get into the low 40s. Whether or not East leaves that 20-point margin, I couldn't tell you. It all kind of comes down to me how the fourth quarter is and backups.
So, Grant, do you see that miraculous scoring run to lead West to a blowout coming in the second half, or do you see it starting in the first half?
To be honest, I don't really see a blowout here. Both these teams, it's a very grindy fest here, where we're seeing both teams just really are looking to get that ball and grind out this game. I mean, both teams have heavy defenses, and I expect to see heavy sets from both lines and a lot of keeping the ball on the ground. And I expect to see this game at most settled by 2 scores. I don't think we'll see a 4 in that first digit on the scoreboard tonight.
Yeah, I think another part of that, going back to last week against St. X, the way that game opened, I don't think that was Lakota West this year. The game started, the defense was pretty good for St. X, but it was a little sloppy. St. X, like, they're one of those schools where, yeah, they lost a lot of their guys last year, but like I said in the first episode, like, I would throw them into the category of high school blue blood, where it's St. X. People go there to play football. So I think that, can we call it, a big showing from that defense? Probably not. But I think they use that East game as kind of a bounce back, and I think they play heavy, just lights out defense.
Okay, so this week what we're looking at with that defense is, I wouldn't call this an easy game for the West defense. That East running back core is really amazing, especially their fullback. He ran for over 1,000 yards last year. And I expect a huge ground and pound game with all the options they have at running back. This is going to be a heavy option set offense like we saw West running last week. And so I expect to keep West on their heels. But riding their strong linebacker core, led by Michael Brandcamp, and their strong secondary, I think West can definitely get a hold on what they're doing. With East not prioritizing the passing game, I believe the secondary has good opportunity to really sink in and get back into their full like go here. And whenever East does pass this game coming up, I believe West has a chance to really make a jump and attack.
So you say that the option is going to be a big part of the offense this week, but out of a curiosity, I mean, what we saw in that fourth quarter against St. X, the passing game really came alive. Whether that was the plan or not, I mean, there wasn't much time on the clock, so maybe it was a little forced. But do you think maybe we'll see a bit more of the passing game from Bolden in the offense, just because we kind of saw flashes of it late last game?
I expect to see the offense playing a little more pass heavy this week, not just because they really found a rhythm there in that fourth quarter. East is known a lot more for their linebacker core, and if you know about football, those linebackers mainly just fill up those A and C gaps, and they're going to stop that run. But yeah, East has a bit weaker of a secondary than their run-stopping ability, and so I see West leaning a bit more on their passing game with Mitch Bolden this week.
All right, so joining us now on the podcast, we've got Superintendent of the Lakota Local School District, Matt Miller.
Hey, Matt Miller, thank you for coming on. We're glad to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Glad I finally made it, and thanks for getting me on.
So, what is it like having such a great rivalry between these two districts in your own hometown?
Well, we always say, we are Lakota, but I know that each school, West and East, both want to claim the victory Friday night. But it's a great honor just to see all of our kids that are involved tonight, from you all, but also the kids that are on the field playing or in the marching band, cheerleaders, support staff for kids. This is a big event for our community in Westchester and Liberty Township. I'm glad to be a part of it. I love this game every single year, and we get to see which township is the better township, at least tonight.
What's one thing you're looking forward to seeing most in this game?
I just think a hard-fought game, Grant. I just think that I like high scoring, so I want to see some points. So that's good. I just hope it's close and everyone stays healthy, and it's a clear-cut winner at the end.
So you've been around Lakota for quite a while at this point. So obviously this isn't your first time around with the East-West stuff. So is there like a memory that kind of sticks out to you, or like one particular year that when you think East-West you kind of go back to?
That's a great question. I think probably I go back to my first year here in 2017 for the East-West game. It was that first game I wore the split jersey that people still ask about, and the East side and the West side. And it comes under that umbrella of We Are Lakota. I think that's sort of a lingering memory, but it's always, you can sort of throw records out the window, but it's always a big event. It's, we're the epicenter of high school football in at least Southwest Ohio, if not the whole state. So it's good to be just a part of that and to be here.
So in these last couple years, Lakota has really shot out to be one of the front runners in football in all of Ohio. I mean, there's so many players that have just evolved. What does that mean for our district as a whole, and what does it mean for the future?
I think what you see, Grant, is you see the sort of the name Lakota out there. So it's Lakota West, Lakota East, and as you mentioned, there have been, if you look at the football side of things, there have been a lot of great players just in the last few years that have moved on to the college ranks, whether it's at the University of Cincinnati, Ohio State, Purdue. Now, if I start naming schools, I'm going to forget one, but you see the kids excelling and going to other places. We are fortunate at Lakota to have two really good coaches, two of the best in the state of Ohio. Very different and unique programs, but high-quality people, high-quality guys, and you just see what they do, not just on the football field, but I see what they do in the halls of East and the halls of West, and it's just a lot of positive energy when both teams are winning and when kids are excelling on the field and going on to the next level to play.
So when you talk about like getting the name Lakota out there, I mean, especially over the past few years since head coach Tom Bolden has showed up at West, it seems like both schools really. I mean, West has kind of been like at the forefront of it, but the name Lakota, the name Lakota West, they're getting out there. So beyond a football standpoint, like for the district and the schools as a whole, I mean, because football is like the crown jewel, if you will, of the athletics world in high school. So, I mean, what has it done for the district just like in a more broad view?
I think one of the best stories I can say in response to that question is when we first started coming on the scene a few years ago in terms of the brand recognition and the name. I had another superintendent who was sort of jealous, who texted me and he said, "Turn the Lakota noise off." He was tired of hearing of it, and I thought, we're just getting started, you know. So I like that. I like that we can tout not just our athletes, but our band, our cheerleaders. I also like touting the high academics that both schools have in different programs, whether it's cyber or incubator EDU or anything like that. I think that we try to go above and beyond what most schools can do or want to do. Not that they don't want to do more, but we seem to find options for kids, and we're trying to push that out there. And we want the story to be about our kids.
You had to have known this question was coming at some point. What's your score prediction for the game this Friday?
I will predict that it will be. Let me think here. I'm going to say 34-31 on the last play of the game.
Which team?
Lakota.
Hey, Mr. Miller, West or East?
Just Lakota.
Gonna
We're
leave us
all
on
the
that
winners.
cliffhanger until Friday?
You cannot pin me down. I just want to do that. I also would be remiss if I didn't mention the great loss that we had at East this week with Caleb's passing, and so sad. And obviously our thoughts and feelings are with his family, his friends, coaches, and teammates, and it's just a tragic story to a great young man that most people outside of the area don't know too much about than what just they read in the paper, but certainly he had a spirit all his own, and we are certainly going to miss him, and hopefully we can support the students and the adults and his family through this. So thanks for letting me say that.
So before we get into our predictions for this week's game, we do want to mention that there was a big tragedy among the Lakota community, and one of our own, Caleb Van Hoosier, graduated in the class of 2022 last year for Lakota East. Tragically passed away over the weekend, and I know everybody, especially those over at East, have a very heavy heart this week, and especially with it being the big East-West game, this week has meant a lot to people around the area. So we just wanted to say that our condolences go out to him and his family, to all those at East who have been impacted, and he will be very fondly remembered, especially on Friday night.
And a message to our West Firebirds while going over there. Let's remember to keep it respectful, and let's remember to keep our Red Sea tamed this week. We will still, as always, try to push on and win as a team, but we need to be respectful to those who've had such a hard week this week. So let's go into this game excited yet respectful.
Yeah, it'll be a competition on the football field for sure, but I mean, when you go beyond the football field, it's very real, and East is feeling it this week, so it'll be heavy for sure.
So with that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at the predictions for this week. Grant, I'm going to start off with you. You said earlier on this podcast that it is going to be a close one, maybe 1-2 score game. What is your exact prediction going into this one?
I think Lakota West really takes a big lead after all, and they end up winning 28-13 late down in the game. And I believe that West will just keep the run game going strong and occasionally surprise East with a couple passes. And East will break out a couple times, but I expect them to not break in above like 13 on that scoreboard.
So, Grant, looks like you have it at a 15-point difference, a 15-point win for the Lakota West Firebirds. Nick, what are you thinking going into this one?
We got Matt Miller's prediction earlier. Maybe not so much the team, but the score in the mid-high 30s. I think it'll be close? No. High scoring? Yes. It would take a real lot, but for whatever reason, the number 43-15 has been jumping out at me this week. Maybe that's because I like being petty to all of my friends over at Lakota East, but I think West is going to pull away for sure. I think they come out with fire after, that first half of that X game. I mean, all the coaches seem to think that performance was inexcusable, and they need to clean a lot up, and I think they will, and they will make it known against Lakota East.
And in this one, I think I'm going to go ahead and have to agree with Nick here. I do believe that it's going to be a blowout because Lakota West just wants to go out there and have fun. They want to play, and they want to win. They want to win by a lot. They want to keep putting those touchdowns up, although Coach Bolden may end up taking out a few of the starters after we go up by a lot. Surely will happen. I think this Lakota West team will have a lot of fun scoring, and then when more of the younger players come on later in the game, those younger players are going to have fun, and they're going to show that they deserve to be on the field. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and predict a 45 to, let's say, 17 scoreline there.
You're just price is rating me.
Firebirds.
Your price is rating me. Inexcusable.
Great game lined up for you tonight. And, as always,
Go
Firebirds.
Firebirds.